Between me and Steve, well, Steve mainly, because I'm not 30 yet, but we have over 30 years experience with Sage and their Sage software. We work with a variety of clients on different levels of Sage. We actually still have a client that's using the original DOS version, and we go all the way up to, obviously, the current version. As Malcolm said, we sort of joined A4G in 2012 to offer our clients a wider range of services. We work to give you a professional responsibility towards your software package. We don't call every year when Sage goes as a new update and to go, you really must upgrade because of the reasons. We look at if it is a commercial judgment for you and if it is worth going over to them. Hence why so many of our clients are on previous versions still. We also have experience with other software packages. We're pro with Iris, Xero, Payru, so we're also there for those that are not using Sage. We assist our clients with Sage with really looking at their layout editing. A lot of bookkeepers do not like the existing layout on the screen. For example, we move items on the payroll software so you actually get the information you need. We have personal specific knowledge of the business. What we try and say with that is when you try and call up Sage Helpline, they might not be aware of your servers, your sort of layouts, what is required from the business. We have sort of a personal relationship with the actual people that put on the data to the business owners, try and make sure we're getting you what is required. For those that aren't part of A4G and they need to get their accounts ready for their accountants, we come in, we actually complete the year-end closures. We've gone out and helped with the payroll year-ends the last few weeks. One of our favourites, and if you've ever had this occurred, you know the nightmare of it, when your data becomes corrupt, we work hard to get the data straight back onto the system and give you the reports to get going again. We love our problem solving. One example we've had recently was a client needed the pay slips to actually be totally different to the existing design. We completed that and introduced departments into the payroll software. So when the payroll journals were fed through from payroll software, it went to the specific nominal codes for different projects. We also work on bespoke report design, making sure we can get the owner managers and the bookkeepers information they need to look at to identify any problems. I'm going to go through what different Sage options are available. For most clients that are just starting, there are two that are available. The first one, and I'll go into more detail, is Sage 1. This is an online version that doesn't have any software on your actual machine. You log on the internet. And we have Sage Instant, which is a beginner version. I'm not going to go into too much detail on Sage Instant. It's quite a watered down version of Sage 50, which I'll explain later. For those that are sort of interested, Sage Instant usually starts at about £125 to purchase, and that will go on your actual machine. Sage 1, as said, is actually an online system. That means you can actually access it not just from your sort of computer, but from tablets and devices. It's been designed mainly as a basic accounts package that you actually will pay on a monthly subscription. One of the advantages of Sage 1, once you get going, if your business then starts to progress, you can then go up the different levels, similar to the desktop packages, to get pretty much to the same similar design as Sage 50. It allows you to do your sort of banking, online quotes, VAT returns all through the system. It hasn't got any limits on the amount of transactions you can put through each month, but on the basic level, you can't only have just one user. You need to upgrade and then be able to allow other people like a bookkeeper to access the system. As sort of a price guide, the basic package starts at £12 a month. The next system, which is the majority of our clients that use, is Sage 50. For those of you aware, there is also then another system Sage offer, which is called Sage 200. We don't usually get involved on that side as we find it's not a natural progression for clients as they get bigger to go from 50 to 200. As you might be aware, in September there was a recent release for Sage. It's called Sage 50 Accounts. They've actually got rid of a year end on the end of it. There was quite a few updates on that, and I'd like to go through the changes if you haven't seen them already and why they might be beneficial. The first one was a much smarter layout. Many of the clients phoned up after putting the disk going, something's gone horribly wrong. This is because the design had completely changed from previous versions. Sage's logic on the matter was that they were able to give information on a much quicker basis, and it was a simpler design for those that didn't have Sage experience to use. For example, for those that use Sage regularly knows you couldn't actually access VAT returns from the main screen. That has now been changed and it's on the drop down on the left hand side. They've also made items like the fixed assets now appear on the options as well, to try and get bookkeepers to put in items as they went in a more accurate manner. The next stage was VAT reporting. While this changed a couple of years ago, if you're on a quite old version now, like 2012, you might not be aware that they have worked to actually improve VAT reporting. One of the issues they found when they made the updates was actually so many people were using Sage to calculate a VAT return but not file it through Sage. What they've done now is to actually change the layout to allow you to enter in the system all the requirements. They are also working that you can do VAT checks to look for unusual transactions, and it comes up with possible suggestions of changes. Once completed, you can actually file your VAT return through Sage and actually post the journal straight away through the package. For those that have suffered data corruption and said past, it has become a nightmare to actually resolve and to get the matter going again. One of the improvements to the latest version was they have introduced procedures that could stop the data corruption actually occurring. Potential issues used to be that when you posted an invoice, if there was a delay in actual posting onto the system via networks, it could actually mean that the invoice wasn't recorded properly. Sage have worked hard to actually mean if there is any data interruption, the actual invoice, for example, would actually still be posted. So it reduces the whole risk of corruption. One of the features that we've actually used already is actually called recovery tools, which is on the options on file maintenance. There is now extra options for you to actually go through your data and check. We've actually upgraded one of our clients in the last few months that by doing those recovery tool checks actually repaired the data to the level that was required. One of the features that maybe you're not using yet on the new feature is the automatic backup feature. Many of our clients always say on a Friday at 5 o'clock they had to get everyone off the software to actually then install run the backup system. It took many hours and it actually generally stopped work. The latest system actually allows you to take a backup while others are working. It doesn't actually mean any downtime. One of the also features is you can actually tell the system when to back up and on what schedule. You can even back it up, even though it probably wouldn't be efficient, on an hourly basis if required. Simply by entering it in on the actual Sage system to go to your server, it will automatically take a backup and place it on your server for you potentially every day. Sage have finally sort of gone over to sort of cloud technology with Sage 50. For those of you who don't know what a cloud is, if I just sort of explain it on a basic, on a cloud principle, you would have your data and your software accessible online only. You wouldn't need to have any software installed onto your actual computer. Obviously, Sage 50, for those who know, is an actual program that's on your machine. But what they've introduced is a program called Sage Drive that actually a few of our clients have started to use and we've sort of got now set up ready for them. What it will do is actually load your software, your data, onto the actual internet via a secure location with Sage. What that means is, first of all, your accountant can then access the data in real time. We would actually have a link directly to your data. If you called up, we would actually just log on to our Sage and your data would appear at its current level. It allows you to actually install other devices to your data. This means that a bookkeeper does not need to be on site to actually do the processing, and it could mean, for example, the owner manager can access their Sage records from home. It does not need sort of the security of like secure network connections back to your office because it's going through the Sage system. At present, Sage are offering that you can connect to your accountant for free and one device to your Sage software for free. If you then wanted your bookkeeper to go on as well as yourself, for example, it would cost an extra £5 per month per person. Sage have also started working on a couple of apps that could be used. There is two main apps that can be used, one for the owner manager and one for sort of salespeople was what the target was. The first one is called Tracker. This will allow the owner to actually look at the current data on your Sage program. So if you wanted to look away from the office, you can look at what balance is in the bank. That is free to download and to use. The mobile sales app is supposed to be designed that allows you to sort of process invoices on the go, access your client records from any location. This is currently a chargeable app with Sage. Going back to sort of this screen, what I wanted to cover was also the additional features of that Sage offer clients that you might not be aware of. Currently, Sage has a Sage Pay option. This allows you to react with many different MasterCard, PayPal to go straight onto your sort of Sage accounting system. We have Foreign Tracker for the clients that are actually using different currencies. It allows you to actually invoice in over 250 currencies and to interact with different banks and the currency payments. And for clients in the building industry, they have a Sage 50 CIS module. This allows you to process as normal but complete things like the CIS returns accurately. A couple of key reports that we've been using with our clients that you might not be aware of and I wanted to go through was a prior year report, profit and loss on a monthly basis, and a quarterly balance sheet. Many of you are probably aware of the prior year reports, but we had one client recently that actually wasn't aware of where the company was or where it was compared to last year. This report looks at sort of the profit and loss and allows you to compare sort of on a monthly or any recurring date time you prefer for the current year and compare that against the prior year's data. That can allow you very basically to compare against the previous year to see if there was any differences and variations. One report we definitely use is called the profit and loss on a monthly breakdown. As I say, we had one key client that actually was aware that their accounts data wasn't correct, but just looking at a prior year report, they weren't able to see why or how. This report allows you to break down the profit and loss over sort of the whole period. It allows us then, as simply computing, for us to notice, for example, director salary was not being posted on a regular basis. So where the client was going, no, that figure doesn't look right, we was able to show what entries was missing, and it allows you to hyperlink through all the areas that are blue to actually see what entries were made. This can be found on previous versions under reports and the management account report sections, but actually on the latest version it's just under the profit and loss sort of reports. Whilst looking at sort of what's happening in the current year, you might be interested to find out what position the company is in now and compare that over the last previous few quarters. While many of you might be aware of how to access the balance sheet, there is actually a specific report that allows you to look at it over the actual periods, and you can compare and see where the company's position is and what currently is outstanding. Go through a couple of potential benefits of Sage which might have occurred now. Many of you might be aware that you've had to purchase the Sage software all in one go, wait a couple of years and purchase it again. Big costs in straight away could affect your cash flow. Sage are now working towards a monthly subscription model. This would mean that the costs, for example, of a current Sage 50, you can purchase at £650 plus VAT or £25 a month. By going over to a monthly subscription, the latest version of Sage is going to be the main basis going forward. Any updates that they are operating on the software will not be part of a whole yearly package that they offer. It will keep being updating as they go along. Try and offer clients a balance. There are potential weaknesses with Sage. The first one was the constant cost increases. Clients that bought their software after August did see a 30% increase in their actual software costs. Currently, Sage have realised their sort of error of their ways is that they're not actually having lots of sales coming through at this point in time, and their costs are actually on a sort of a variance basis. So, for example, we have to keep phoning up to actually find out what's the best price for our clients. As discussed, especially on Sage 50, it is not particularly cloud friendly yet. While you can still put the data onto sort of the internet and access it from everywhere, you have to have your software installed onto actual computers. Around the office, it still needs to be part of a network. Also, as sort of clients using Sage are aware, the updates are not that regular. Alternative software providers can do updates on an even daily basis. At the moment, Sage is sort of doing 4 updates a year. Just to sort of explain a couple of alternatives that are available for you to access. There's one called QuickBooks. Many clients might be aware of this. It was a popular one in the past. They've been working very hard to get ready for sort of cloud technology, and there are 2 versions available, one that can just be accessed via the internet or one that you can install onto your actual machine. Benefits of the system is quite simple to set up, and they work, unlike Sage, on a dashboard system. If I just show you sort of a local. Another bit like using the Sage Pay feature on top of your Sage payroll, Sage accounts, you're able to accept debit and credit card payments straight through the system. Example of sort of what QuickBooks are looking like, they've gone over to sort of a dashboard system that allows you to see it visually rather than having to go through the reports which many people are looking at on Sage. Another system, if you're not looking for a complex accounts package, is Solo Accounts. We have a couple of clients using this basic. It's very basic to actually operate, but it allows you to complete the back returns and the VAT returns as part of the actual process. Very simplified to actually use, and it uses terminology not in sort of the accounting world, withdrawals, deposits. And it also keeps an eye on trade debtors, trade creditors in a similar manner to sort of Sage. It is a cheaper alternative to Sage, as you hear in sort of Sage at the moment. It's about £650 plus VAT. It's £174 plus VAT to purchase at the moment. Unlimited companies as a standard. It is, however, very basic. The sort of report level does not actually come up against Sage. It can only be installed on one machine, so if you wanted to have it over the office, you'll need to buy multiple versions of the actual package. Finally, sort of looking at it at the moment, obviously we've been talking about different packages. Joe, as sort of our sort of software expert in the office for A4G, what software are we recommending at the moment?
I'll probably go with Xero. But that's purely because every demo or demonstration I've done, there's always been one wow factor someone's found when demoing it.
Well, that was a completely shocking answer, and I hadn't been prepared at all. I
was getting my car keys.
So, to explain what Xero does and how it differs from Sage, I'd like to introduce Phil Bevan from Xero to go further.